it's not recording. Oh, there it goes. Now it is.
Welcome to the 4 on 5 podcast with Travis Macy, Nicodemus De La Rosa, Jeff Browning, and the wonderful Krissy Mail. We've got 5 questions from our athletes around the world and 4 of us awesome coaches to answer them. Starting off today, we'll go 2 minutes each coach. Starting off today's question, we're going to do, how do you approach a nutritional plan for long runs and races? And we're going to start off from my clockwise, Travis Macy. So 3, 2, 1.
All right. Nutritional plan for long runs and races. One of the greatest challenges, I think, of ultra running and really any long endurance event is staying fueled, keeping the calories coming, keeping the nausea as low as possible, and really not puking all over the place, which we've all done. And in general, I'll just start with a few basics. For my clients, I always recommend, especially on your long runs, this is a skill to practice. It's part of the craft of long endurance racing is the fueling, and it's something you really need attention to detail to and practice. So over those longer training sessions, keep track of what you're eating. Try to eat, I recommend, a variety of items in training so that especially as you go into a longer race, you have many options available, because when you get to the race, some of the things that you liked in training are probably gonna go bad either at the start or halfway through or somewhere by the end. So you got to have flexibility, especially those longer races. You got to have a flexible mindset and various options. I think you want to start the race with some rough estimate of, I need this many calories per hour. Here's where I'm going to get them from. I've also got to plan on my hydration, and that includes especially how much sodium are you going to take in per hour. And again, you're practicing all those things, but also being flexible once you're out on the race course.
Awesome. All right, and Jeff, we'll go next with you if that's all right. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, so I like to think about it as the three kind of key ingredients to long run and race nutrition, and that is your hydration, electrolyte balance, and calorie intake. I like to look at calorie intake, not counting the first hour that you're kind of topped off. You can sip a little water to thirst, but after 1 hour, start thinking about taking in calories about 2, depending on the person, like a starting point. This is a ballpark for people to start with and tinker with. Everyone's going to be unique, like Travis said, and you're going to have to like play around with things. But I like the IV drip strategy of some kind of liquid nutrition coming in after 1 hour. About, total caloric intake per hour is going to be somewhere in the 200 to 260 calories per hour. You might be able to train 300, but you're going to start getting a little garbage gut in longer races, because you just can't digest much more than 260 calories an hour. So I feel like 240 to 260 calories an hour is a really good sweet spot. I like to look at hydration hourly as well, and that depends on heat and sweat rate. Everyone's a little unique, and that's going to be about a half a liter to a liter an hour. Max maybe 1.3 liters an hour, but I wouldn't do much more than that. That's about 40 ounces an hour. I wouldn't do anything. That's going to be in a very extreme hot race. Anything more than that, you got to be just pouring water on yourself and trying to cool your core down. And then last is sodium per liter. So look at all sources, what you're eating, what you're drinking in. It should be somewhere ballpark starting point to 600 to 800 milligrams per liter. So it's per liter, not per hour. So I like to say 600, 800 per liter. Some people are going to be outliers on both sides of that a little bit, but if you start there, you'll be really close. That's my tips.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Ooh, I like that bit of sodium per liter. All right, Krissy, and when you're ready, 3, 2, 1, and time.
Right on. I could just repeat everything you guys said. So in addition to both what Travis and Jeff said, I was trying to say, what else would I add? One thing is the mental component of eating. A lot of us, especially in the longer races, we can get so like, I can't eat. There's a mental piece to actually putting food in our mouths sometimes. So a trick that I didn't really realize it was something I did until I was trying to help a client work through getting more than 50 calories an hour. She was doing 50 calories in a 5-hour run sometimes and just couldn't maintain energy. So the thing I realized that I do is when I'm eating something, so say it's like 45 minutes into the race, I had my breakfast, I'm starting to think, okay, so first thing easy down is a gel. But when I'm taking that gel, I'm already thinking about what I'm going to eat at the next half hour, 45-minute mark. So it's like, okay, next time I'm eating a half a bar. I'm eating a gel now, half a bar next time. So for the next, not that I'm thinking about it constantly, but I've put that thought in motion so that when it's time and I'm thinking, oh, I need to eat again, I just go for the half a bar. It's not a decision anymore. It's not what am I if I want to. I've already said this is what I'm going to do. So it kind of goes back to you said have a plan, Travis. That mental piece of it, just taking the plan a little bit further into how you go through the day. And then you're also real time, right? Because if something's working for you, then you kind of you stagger it that way. But if all of a sudden that gel just, you're like, whoa, gosh, I can't even think about having it on the next one. You're already making the plan for what you are going to take in that next go. And the other thing I would add is some people think about nutrition like what do they need to eat while they're running? Well, maybe just think about what you would eat in a normal day and then add all this activity. So when you need to think of volume, it's like, oh gosh, like I would have 3 full meals running in a 12-hour day. So hopefully I could, sorry, I'm over time. That's it.
Yeah.
Nick, your turn.
No, that was wonderful. I'll let you borrow 10 of my seconds.
Thanks.
But yeah, no, I mean, same thing. I totally agree with Krissy that like, you know, going into it, like don't switch up too much from whatever. I don't know. Yeah, train. What Travis was saying. Train with whatever you're gonna use in the race. You want to use mushy stuff in the race. Train with some mushy stuff. Probably like the biggest something I fail at all the time is, you know, being like, oh, I'm gonna go do a 25, 30-mile run and I want to go be really light because I don't like carrying crap. And then I always do that. And then I do a 100-miler and I'm totally screwed up because I have not trained eating at all, ever, because I just train super light. And that's not how you train your gut. Same kind of thing, IV drip method, low osmolality, take a bite of food, take a sip of water kind of thing. I'm a big proponent of something I learned at TDG. The longer the race, the colder the race, the more normal food you can have. The hotter the race, the faster the race, the more liquidy,
Yep.
Really good point.
Martin gel, wish you had an IV bag stabbed in you kind of thing. Yeah, that was really the only other thing I would add is just sort of like temperature fluctuations and stuff like that. That was a really cool point, Jeff, with the sodium per liter thing. I think.
Yep. Be careful with caffeine especially in the heat.
Ooh, that's another good one.
When your dehydration may already, dehydration, electrolytes, those things are off. Caffeine can be the final straw.
Yeah, but to mess you up.
And I just want to put a side note on that one because I think that's a really good one that people don't think about because they don't always look like, do I have caffeine in my gel or my drink? Like caffeine metabolizes for most people in 3 to 6 hours. So depending on your fast or slow metabolizer. So you don't really need the caffeine, but every 3 to 5 hours.
Good point.
Because otherwise you're just over caffeinating and it hits a ceiling effect that it's just going to mess with your gut.
Yep.
That's a solid point. Cool. All right. So next question we're going to move on to, how do you deal with time constraints and trying to fit in workouts? So we're going to go with that one next. So, let's say example, you're looking, well, you guys pull up your own example. So we'll go reverse order, starting still with not me. I'll go last till someone pick on Krissy first. 3, 2, 1, and go.
Unmute. Okay, dog was barking. Sorry. Time restraints. Man, I ran into this yesterday, and I was so frustrated. Like I had lots of life things pulling at me, band power issues, chucking at stuff, like all the things. And I'm like, man, I even designed my life to have running as a priority, and life got in the way today. And I think the biggest lesson from that was just being like, all right, like some days it doesn't work, like and moving the mental shift, because and I had it for a while. I was so frustrated that I didn't get to go for a run because that's what I needed to deal with the stress, but I couldn't manage the time. So the quicker you can get to that mental, like, okay, like it's just not going to happen today. I think that's a helpful point. So then I would switch back prior to that acceptance piece is designing your life. So like making time, maybe even a schedule. So how it works out. And for people that have like family and work commitments, communication, like talking through what that schedule looks like and what this priority needs to be, so that you can have that like block, and then you got to honor it. So if you say I need 2 hours to go run, and you've got a commitment with a family, you got to take the kids or whatever that thing is, you got to be back in those 2 hours, so that the commitment gets honored both ways. So I just understand that frustration totally, and I don't have like kids and other things to respond to, so I feel yeah. That's a tough one.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to Jeff. Thank you, Krissy.
I do agree that like setting aside time in your schedule, I block things out on my Google Calendar that shows when I'm going to run. So that way I can't put another appointment over it. So I block that out. That's kind of how I set my week up, and it repeats every week. And sometimes I have to move them, but that's okay. And sometimes they get shrunk a little more. The other thing is that you don't get upset when you do get derailed, because, at the end of the day, family and job usually have to take precedence over running. So you have to like be okay with that mentally. And maybe you have to, that hour run, maintenance run during the week turns into a 20-minute shakeout real quick. That's okay. 20 minutes is of value. Like, don't sweat it. Just go knock it out and get 20 minutes in, and then move on to the next day and let it roll off your back. I think that's a really important thing mentally, is not letting it get to you, because a lot of people will let that get in their head. Oh my gosh, because remember that it's about the volume and general consistency of training versus one workout. So don't get stressed out about it. And I think that's probably one of them. The other one is, communication, like Krissy said. I think that's really important to communicate when you got a spouse and kids and you got other things that you have to take care of and go pick up kids, or something like that. So you got to like communicate and like set expectations when you have bigger workouts. So there's some warning and expectation. I think that's another important piece. And other than that, like treadmills are really nice if you can afford one, just because you can jump on and like, and I just like, for example, I just did stuff with my kids. So like if I'm getting on a time constraint, I just did a strength workout with my 9-year-old, and he did push-ups and pull-ups and a whole bunch of other stuff and air squats and with me, because I was kind of taking care of him and my wife was out. So, there's mine. I'm done. It's 2 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. We'll go 3, 2, 1, and Travis.
Yeah, all good there. If I had $1 for every easy run that turned into an all-out race to get back for the daycare pickup or getting the kids after school, I mean, honestly, that's where a lot of my speed work comes, is these unplanned rushes back to get somewhere. And I think that's all good. I mean, planning ahead, communicating. For me personally, the power of the morning, I think we talked about this last time, but I think for a lot of people, just, using the early morning, go to bed early, get up early, get out the door and get it done. And that, to me, the thing that you do first in the morning, you're prioritizing that thing. And especially I think for a lot of parents, that might be one time of the day that you can do something alone, while the kids are sleeping. So I think harness that power. And then the final point, as you guys have touched on, the language I like to use is perfect is the enemy of good. If you're only going to accept perfection as far as, okay, I planned on running 75 minutes, or my coach, prescribed here 75 minutes, and you finally have your shoes on and you're walking out the door and you have 67 minutes. Some people I'm not going to do anything because I don't have 75. Well, 67 minutes is exponentially more than nothing. So go out there and just, do the damn thing and cut it short. And that's okay. You got to be fine with that. And that truly, as these guys have said, that's good mental training for the race itself. Cause things are not going to go perfect in your running race, especially a long one. So get used to rolling with the punches and just figuring things out.
Awesome. I want to really disagree with someone on this to make it more interesting, but all of your points are all things I agree on. So that's not as fun. But starting with Krissy's thing on self-compassion, I 100% agree with that. Perfect is the enemy of good. I'm pretty sure like I read that in my Overcoming Anxiety book the other day. And so those are good quotes. That's awesome stuff. I'm kind of really like in the same thing there. I love what Jeff said there, just with the, I think that relieves the pressure of like, oh man, my time constraint run's becoming a 45-minute run. Well, it's not that one run that makes or breaks you. It's the freaking 3 months of, training that you're doing that make or break you. So, yeah, and I think getting stuck in that trap of perfection is a good thing to avoid. I'm going to say for myself, something I struggle with a heck of a lot. I have a couple other athletes that have struggled with this somewhat in the past. Boundaries and self-respect. So this stuff sounds kind of dick-ish, and well, to me it sounds dickish. As a person who like, oh, I will people please left and right. I will give up that hour that I have blocked out on my Google thing faster than this time will run out. And I will give that to the dog. I will give that to the fake notion that, well, if I don't do the laundry and if I don't do the dishes, well, then I'm not a good husband, and all this like fake crap that I have going in my head. Some deeper examination of that stuff that's probably out of the scope of maybe some conversations, but yeah, if you can sort of examine that and be, like, I guess in short, treat yourself seriously. So if you would easily give your spouse an hour, hey, honey, I'm gonna go hang out with my girlfriends or something like that, or hey, hon, I'm gonna go to dinner with a friend tonight. Okay, cool. And you would easily give them that hour. Give yourself that hour and that same type of respect. At least that's what I listen to on a podcast. Can I do that myself?
Yeah.
Not yet, but it's good advice.
You're right on, Nick. I mean, I think you're really hitting into something that a lot of people deal with. A lot of parents, struggle with that. How do I get away from the kids? Or, and maybe it's culturally. I think a lot of moms in particular, that's how do you value that time? You're onto something.
Yeah.
I just took away 10 of my seconds on the next
Yeah,
question.
geez. All right. So, keep it
First,
with
Nick, on this one.
Yeah. All right. Third question here. Let's go with what's your favorite winter cross training sport? That'll be a shorter one. So we'll start off with Travis.
Oh man, I love winter, and I really, maybe some people know I'm kind of a multi-sport athlete anyway, but Jeff and I were just talking about Nordic skiing, whether it's classic skiing or skate skiing is awesome. I love snowshoeing and snowshoe racing. That's something that, people can access various places. And the latest thing for me, at least here in Colorado and maybe in Montana where Jeff is the ski mountaineering, also known as randonnée skiing or alpine touring, ski touring. They're kind of all the same things, but you're basically going uphill using climbing skins and then taking off the skins and skiing downhill alpine style. And man, I just love it. And a lot of the, top mountain runners, you look at Kilian Jornet or, a bunch of the runners again here in Colorado Rob Carrar. Yep. He's out there doing a lot of them, and man, the races are a blast. They're challenging. They're mentally tough. You look at like the Grand Traverse that's starts at midnight in Crested Butte and you go overnight 40 miles to Aspen. It's just, man, it's hard. It's dynamic. There's gear maintenance, and it's great prep for something like ultra running where you're going to have to think on your feet. So ski mountaineering, that's kind of become my favorite sport personally right now.
Cool. Awesome. And all right, Jeff, when you're ready, we'll go 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, mine. So I probably my number one is Nordic skiing for cross training in the winter time, especially in a snowy location like Bozeman, Montana. So I do a fair amount of skate skiing. I use it for my quality days. So a couple days a week to get, not have to slog in the snow. And then I just do my easy aerobic training in the snow. So with some kind of traction. And then my second one is indoor bike trainer. I'll do a little bit of that. So it's between that and Nordic skiing is probably two. I do some backcountry skiing. It's harder for me to get away for as long as it takes for a good ski tour. And it's hard, and you really need a partner because of avalanche conditions and stuff like that. It's good to have a partner. So, and have some avalanche, public service announcement. Make sure
Training.
you know about avalanche.
You got to know what you're doing. Yeah.
We don't want anybody dying out there. Enough people die a year of that. So, that's a big one. So yeah, Nordic skiing is number one, just because I can do it solo and I can do it quick. I can go do a 2 or 3 hour ski and like, boom, done, come home. And we have ski trails really close, 10 minutes. Actually we have towny trails, but the good stuff's like 10 minutes away. So anyway, that's mine. That's probably good enough right there.
Ooh.
Oh, wait, I got one more. I got one more. Travis said something about snowshoeing. One of the things I bought some years ago, some running snowshoes. I really actually like using those on days to open up like our vert trails. So our mountain trails keep like 2 or 3 mile, climb open, because what you become kind of like the neighborhood groomer, and you can go groom the trail. If you do an out and back, like one trip up and one trip back will kind of groom the trail enough that hikers will go hike it. But if you don't break trail, they won't go any farther. So I found that I've got a couple of spots where when we hit a dump, I get my snowshoes on and I go like knock out a 2.5, 3 mile climb. And, maybe it's a 4 to 6 mile total round trip with snowshoes on. And it's really fun coming downhill on running snowshoes, I have to say. You can fly. So anyway, that's my last one.
Nice. All right, Krissy. When you're ready.
Right on. I keep breaking up, so hopefully it doesn't do it while I'm also speaking. I was over here being a smart aleck in my own brain, but I run year round. And we go back to the where do you live? I live in an area that I can run. I live in an area I can run year round, but it requires some different gear. And definitely learned that there's no bad weather. There's just bad gear, and ours is wet. And living in a van, I now have lots more towels to dry off the dog and myself. And but I would say in terms of cross training, when I really think of that answer, is there's days that it's just not as motivating to go out. And I will try and twist my brain more to the strength training aspect. So actually doing some weight workouts. I'm working with a guy here at Prime Sports Institute now to kind of build up some winter strength. And I actually probably multi-sport more in the summer, like with a road bike. Maybe that is it. No, just getting out. I just love to run, I think, is the reality check there. But strength training, I would say, is my cross trainer in the winter, personally.
Nice. Kind of echoing Krissy there. Yeah, same kind of thing with me in Sedona, Arizona. It's we get a little bit of snow, but desert season is always kind of, even living when I lived in San Diego, winter. And as you guys know, that was when I was training for Hurt 100. So it was like desert season was open. So it meant just go east and into the desert where it's normally 115 and it's like 60, 70 degrees and you go up all these weird fun peaks. So cholla dodging gets a lot of nice lateral strength if you're dodging cholla cactus. That's good cross training. No, but seriously, with different athletes who I'm working with around this time, if they're in a cooler environment, they're a little bit burned out on everything, I may throw them into, honestly, some like Tai Chi yoga stuff. I don't know how to teach either of those, but I can grab YouTube videos and we can guide through stuff. So we'll do some more working in. Working in, as an old coach of mine used to say, versus working out. So we'll maybe spend some time doing that. I know.
You totally live in Sedona, don't you?
Yeah. And then
love it. That's a really good point, man. I like it.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And then other than that, I like to do a lot of actually like 3 or 4 of my athletes. One who Krissy and I are working on together, who we convinced to do the mile. And if you can convince them that, hey, we're going to get really good in the time mile, which is completely different than the ultra. But if the person suffers from self-criticism, or if they suffer from, I don't know, whatever, their mind drifting or something like that, whatever pain they suffer from, you can bring that to the surface immediately when you throw them into a time mile. So that's what's kind of cool, is you can use it to reveal deeper issues that might not come out until they did a 100 miler during the mile. So
yeah,
I speak more on that later.
That's a neat idea.
Yeah. All right. Fourth
Super
question.
quick. I gotta mention the Zwift platform. If you're at all into cycling, man, you get these smart trainers and it's connected to your computer and you're riding along with other people. And with Zwift, you can do it running as well on a
Cool.
smart treadmill. So some people are liking that, but man, for cycling, it is awesome. The data is just incredible. And it's fun. You're doing real road rides with hills and climbs and drafting. It's pretty sweet. I know Jim Walmsley's on there. He was hitting it pretty hard for a while there. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, you got to share the sponsorship money they're giving you to have said that. So.
No, I just like it.
No, I appreciate that. All right. Fourth question. Keeping with time here. All right. So when my question that came up, and this is more for me personally. How do you train to be fast? So you do a big climb. So let's say it's a 500, 600 foot climb or something like that. And then in that period after, let's say it's less technical terrain, relatively flat. How do you get going after that climb? So fairly specific question. How do you climb and then get back to speed after it?
Can I go first for 1 minute before I literally run to get my kids?
Yeah.
Nick, that's a great question, because lots of times, especially if you hammer that climb really hard, you get to it's almost like running off the bike and your legs are jello and how do I go again here? So, one strategy I talk to athletes about is just pacing. Like think about, how hard are you going up this climb, and maybe by slowing down and power hiking or walking or, using your poles, conserving that energy. If you can keep your legs a little fresher, there's probably a good chance that you can make up more time on that flat or the downhill afterwards. So, think about that. But then also, I like to practice, whether it's myself or people I'm coaching, we'll do like uphill, downhill intervals. So usually you're doing like either an uphill interval or a downhill interval. Maybe you work in something, whether this is short explosivity stuff or longer things, maybe it's a 15-minute tempo kind of thing, where the 10 minutes you're going uphill and then you're getting to the top and turning around and going down. And you want to be careful with that. Obviously, you got to make sure your legs are ready. You got to make sure you recover, because running down fast will beat you up a bit. But I think practice that, practice kind of attacking the downhill after an uphill and find that balance. How hard can you go uphill and then be ready to go faster on the down?
Awesome. All right, Jeff, what do you got?
Guys, I'll catch you later. Good stuff, everyone.
Sounds good, Travis. Yeah.
See you next time, audience.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Hey, happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays
You
to
too,
you guys.
Travis.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that plays right into question 2, time constraints.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, and boundaries. You did a great job with that, actually.
Yeah, you got to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mine is cadence. So when you come up at the end of a climb, really working on turnover and getting back to a higher cadence, because you usually have a little slower cadence on climbing. So when you get to the top of that climb and it flattens out or it starts to go downhill, really working on quick, short, light steps. So getting that cadence going. Arm swing can really help, because your legs will follow your feet, or your feet will follow your hands. Sorry. So if you get that good compact, quick arm swing, your legs will follow that. Also, my other one is, if anybody's familiar with like pose method of running, and that is some of the pose drills, and you can YouTube this stuff and get some videos on how to YouTube pose method running. There's some really good ones on like bringing your knee, or sorry, your opposite your heel to your knee on the inside of your opposite knee. So when you bring that foot up, it should line up with the knee that you're landing on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it looks like that, right? So it looks like, and so like that movement, it's something you can do at a standing desk. I'll do drills where I stand on one leg and I'll just pop one leg up where that knee comes up. And so, because a lot of people think about really high knee action when they're running, but it really should be that heel lift up to the opposite knee. So I like to think about that motion. It really helps lighten up my legs.
Nice.
Done.
Nice. That was like perfect. Yeah. Sweet. All right, Krissy, what do you got?
So I was going to do arm swings, totally. Like, even if your legs aren't even following, just keep your arms going. It reminds me of Carly coming on the Western States track at the last quarter mile. She like had her arms going, but her legs were still just, it was so great. Like, but the arm swing was there. They will eventually follow, maybe just not the end of a 100-miler. So I love this question because it totally just took me back to Skagit Valley College, high school cross country running. My least favorite workout was we would go do these hill repeats and we would run up one side and the coach would stand on the top. It did not matter how fast you went up one side, but the point was to run across the top. And then whatever happened on the downhill was totally fine. It was so hard, but it is so my mentality for ultra running now is that you just got to keep momentum up. Like, whether it's a 1,000-foot climb or a 50-foot climb, we just keep momentum going because downhill will take you again. And Mr. Whiten, I will always remember him yelling at us at the top in like the most encouraging, positive voice, just like, you got it, you got it, you got it, you got it. Like, keep your legs and you just run across the top. It was great because it was our district course. And so we had this, like, everybody else would like suffer on that hill, but not us. We had mental strength there on that one.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
Thanks for the nostalgia on that one.
Yeah. That's all wonderful. I've just been sponging that all up from all three of you. My question on this is specifically to so there's a route here called the Hangover Loop that I beat Walmsley's time on it by a minute, and then I think he saw that like, and 2 days later he went and lowered it by 2 minutes, and then went and lowered it by another 2 minutes, and it has a big climb on it and then a flat part after. And so I'm like, how do I gain time on Walmsley here? And this translates perfectly well to clients as well. But my initial thought strategy was exactly kind of what you guys are saying. It's just, I think more often than not, I'll rage into these and just that first bit, kind of what Travis was saying, I'll rage into it and just way too hard for that first 100, 200 feet of the hill. And then I'll be in oxygen deprivation. My cadence will slow down. I'll pop out the top of the thing. And my leg turnovers all of a sudden kind of slow. And I'll get back into it, but it'll take me longer. So I think sacrificing, just letting my ego sacrifice the first, like, okay, I'm going to be slower on this hill. That's all right. I borrowed it from Born to Run, but it was saying, take 3 steps where you would take 1 step while going uphill sometimes. So again, like that notion of when going uphill, and let's say it's technical uphill with some steps and crap, if you have the opportunity to go 3 steps and around that stair, do that versus lunge jump up that step. Any of that lunge jump stuff, that air time slows you down, and what adds up to overall speed is going to be a higher or more frequent ground contact time with just those steps lifting off kind of quickly in the pose style that Jeff was kind of alluding to. I asked one of my coworkers at the running store, who's like a 2:11 marathoner, and he was just saying fartleks and just training, lots of fartleks, lots of runs, 10-milers and stuff, where you build in like 3 surges where you go in a 6-minute mile, you surge up to a 5-minute mile, and then you slow back down or whatever it is to that 6-minute mile, practicing that variety kind of skill. But yeah. All right, final question we got, just for the 3 of us real quick. And so looking forward here to 2021, knowing that, 2020 was this sort of conversion to virtual racing and stuff, and sort of as coaches having to work with athletes and psychologically prime them for, hey, this is still going to be exciting. This is still a cool thing. Obviously, Krissy's an RD, so she's on that boat of it. But, should athletes be thinking about, virtual races for 2021, is that something they should kind of be considering? And can we talk to sort of virtual racing and racing planning in general for 2021? So 3, 2, 1. We'll start maybe with Jeff, and then we'll go to Krissy. And then
I think an important one with this one is that remember that the races we love, some of those races are hurting right now, and we need to think about supporting them. I think that's an important thing to remember. So I'll speak for Krissy on this one because I'm not a race director. We should be supporting races as much as we possibly can, and we still need to think about what speaks to us and what we want to support and that kind of thing. But if you have a local race, especially if it's in your backyard, it's one of your local races, you probably should be trying to support it if it's a virtual. And also I think it can be a good motivator to get you out on those cold, dark mornings in the winter. because, that we all need those carrots. And for me, like, it's been really hard year with not racing, because I've raced hard for 20 years and it's part of my like identity, and it's part of my, it's who I am. It's my family's used to it. Like, my whole family felt out of sorts this year because we weren't traveling to races. We have these kind of like, traditions we do every year and places we go and visit, and we weren't doing that this year. And so everyone's been a little like, wow, weird year, and so I think that can be a really good motivator, because everybody's looking for their motivation right now to get out the door and train. And I am too. And it's hard when you don't have a race you're going to like plan for and travel to and go race. So I think we can do these virtual things and put it on our calendars. And whether that's just saying, hey, I'm going to run this 50K in my backyard virtually, I think that can be a great motivator. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Krissy, when you're ready.
Yeah, right on. Thanks for that, Jeff. And that was my question, because I am in the throes of it with checking out 50K. And personally, as a runner, I participated. I registered for a lot of virtual runs, whether I did them or not. Like, some I did, some I didn't. And it was more of that thinking, like, I want these events to be around. And now I'm really feeling it with Chuckanut. Like, we need that support this year. So, like, keeping RDs and like what it takes to keep an event going. And some of it's financial, some of it's also energy and enthusiasm, and you showing your like presence is part of what an RD gets from. Personally, I'm speaking for myself. That's what I get out of race directing, is how many people want to come participate. Or like, I love hugging my finishers at the finish line. Or I love registration day when 600 spots sold out in 3 hours. Like, those are that energy is just as important as the like financial support, I think. Because like, why do we do it? We do it to bring our community together. And gosh, if this year wasn't hard to not be able to bring our community together. So helping race directors figure out creative ways to bring other people together in this like virtual setting. Could be another, if you've got an idea of like, I'm kind of sick of just recording my results, like what would be a cool idea that you would want to support the event. And priority, like you said, Jeff, is you still have to manage your calendar, and that would be where the boundaries come in. Like, you just can't, your calendar, your financial situation, like you can't just like give all of that out without taking care of yourself and keeping your schedule in line. So definitely understand both sides of those. I'm just in that race director throes right now, so that's why I asked this question.
Yeah. Thank you, Krissy. No, and I think it's a beautiful question. I really agree with Jeff's point there. I didn't, just be honest, I encourage my athletes to. I didn't sign up for any virtual races myself or whatever. Yeah, I was on the opposite end, where I was kind of seeking out like the dregs of what was Speedgoat 50K, and like the few in Arizona that opened up and did the COVID distance thing and stuff like that. So far for 2021, I've had a smattering of athletes find some races that are still open or doing registration stuff here and there. I like what you guys said. I like the idea of more being open to or approaching the notion of virtual races from that, like, okay, well, no, it's not a race or whatever it is, but what you were saying, Jeff, if you want Hard Rock to be around or something like that next year, or Western State, whatever, big race you like, they do need financial support. That is a living for someone, or, at least having enough money to get the permits or whatever it is next year. And so, yeah, no, I think that's super important, because it's been, it's tragic to kind of go around it. We went to San Diego not long ago or whatever it was, and just seeing all our favorite restaurants and stuff closed down. I was just like, oh man, dang, this is like really, really seeing the effects of it and stuff. And of course, yeah, the same's happening with RDing. So no, that makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, I'll work on that with some of my athletes and myself. Cool. All right. Well, there's the 5-on-4, 4-on-5.
4-on-5.
And
3 on the 5th today.
This is our second episode, so it's
exactly.
It's great.
Yeah, exactly. So no, thank you guys so much for coming on and stuff like that. And I'll, like I said, let me finish the record button here. Stop recording.